All right, we are live, boys and girls. We just got to let it breathe for a second and connect with our phenomenal Facebookers. This community rocks. We love you guys so much, and I think we're good. Welcome in, everybody. It is the aftermath episode of the Mile High Huddle podcast. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest. You know him, you love him, Zack Kelberman. Zack, last night some things came up short notice. You weren't able to do the gut reaction, so let everybody hear it, brother. You're the Broncos. The Broncos beat them 27-7. Backups. What was your gut?
I'm not going to be too high on the game because I said preseason doesn't matter when everyone was biting their fingernails over Bo Nix the previous week. They looked good, though, Chad. From what we could take out of the game, the backups, the third string, the fourth string units, this is the deepest Broncos roster that I've seen in quite a while. Certain players stood out. We can get into that. I thought Sean Payton has done an excellent job with the quarterbacks in particular, Jarrett Stidham and even Sam Ellinger. I thought overall, though, there's literally not much to dislike from yesterday's performance.
And guys, we have sorry for being as delayed tonight as we were. We were trying to crack. We had some technical issues. Very it's been a pain in the butt the last little bit, but we're working through it. So rock and roll with us. Some quick shouts here, guys. Proud Zenial, what's up, dude? Yeah, I was hanging out with Ian a couple days ago. It was awesome. Dude. Yeah, profile pic. Yeah, dude. See updated profile pic down in Arizona at the Bridge Gap show. Awesome, dude. Great to see you. He set us up. Here's his super chat. Thank you, brother. He says, have a great show, guys. Remember, brothers, we are in the throes of preseason. Our Dinos, there is no profit in peace. This is like bridge the gap puns. Will be something fierce. Hashtag MHH for life. BTG Bonos AZBC. Yeah, that's right, dude. Awesome, brother. Thank you so much for that. It really was fun hanging out with you. You know, I just spent like, I don't know, a couple hours, 2-3 hours. It's a late night hanging out with Ian, and he brought his daughter to the punk rock show. But I'm officially done with all that stuff until the football season is over. So that was the last hurrah. Thank you for being there, Ian. And you know, also I'm going to share with some people some of the stuff that you sent me home with, dude, that you brought to the show, like this cool sticker and some other stuff down the road. I'm going to share some stuff on that. So thank you again, big dog. Papa Bear checking in. What more can be said about this legend? Says, good evening, Broncos country, hashtag 13 and 4 plus 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 plus. Love it, dude. Great to see you tonight, Papa Bear. Thanks for all that you do, and hope you're getting even closer to that 100%. Been through some stuff lately. The Lady D,
Ooh,
top rope super chat. Here she
thank you,
comes,
Deanna.
and she's just getting started. It looks like, because I see something else she's done. Thank you so much, Lady D. It was great to see you earlier today in the makeup episode of Broncos Book Club because I was traveling yesterday. Love you. She says, evening, Chad, Zach, Scott, and Broncos country. Super excited. Football is back. Can't wait for the regular season to start. Excited for the meet and greet to see and meet everyone. We're going to have a wonderful season, MHH for life. Yeah, it's going to be fun, dude. Back to your point at the very top, and this kind of springboards off, you know, what she's saying here about it being a wonderful season, Zach. The depth, the close. I was just talking to Doc Bear about this earlier today. The depth the Broncos currently have. Now we'll see how it comes out on the wash, right? Like we don't want to speak too soon, jump the shark. Let's see how how it looks in the regular season. But I haven't seen it like this since the heyday of the Peyton Manning era. You know, the 2012 team kind of outkicked its coverage. It was a lot of young guys, unproven guys, and Peyton Manning just like raised all the ships. But then by the time you got to 13 and 14, he was attracting so many veterans in free agency, and Elway was at the time doing a good job drafting, and the depth was insane. So my point being here, it's the closest thing I've seen since then, Zach.
We've seen Broncos rosters that the first string units on offense and defense, they're pretty impressive. But if there was one injury or beyond that, Chad, they fell apart completely. That's not the case this season, going into the regular season. And one of my biggest takeaways when I was watching yesterday's game was, man, Sean Payton has a lot of tough decisions to make in the next couple weeks.
Indeed, it's going to be tough to call a few competitions. I mean, running back's going to be tough. Wide receiver is going to be tough. I mean, last night, one of the questions I got, I can't remember who asked it because I was so dang tired by the time I hopped on. But hey, what about Courtney Jackson? Is he like forcing his way onto this roster? And it's like, what are you going to do? Carry 7 wide receivers? Someone's got to go. Trent Sherfield, you probably don't want him to go anywhere. I don't think they're moving on from a Vele obviously they're not going to from a Mims. They're not going to from a Franklin or Bryant. So how many are you going to carry? Is Mims focusing on offense only this year? I don't think so, Zach, based on what Darren Rizzi has said. But Courtney Jackson, man, he's been shot in the arm, shot of life.
It might be a hot take, but I'm almost willing to roll with Jackson over Devon Vele. Maybe Vele has some trade value around the NFL. Maybe you could shop him. Maybe you move on. But Jackson's shown more playmaking ability, Chad, and more highlight reel talent than Vele did as a rookie. That's just the reality of it. So I don't know if they're going to keep him on the 53 Jackson. I doubt it. But how do you squeeze him on the practice squad either? How do you hide him from other teams considering the summer that he's had?
I don't know, dude. I don't know I mean, it's a puzzle. So back to, yeah, it's going to be hard to keep everybody. You can't keep everybody, but it's going to be some hard decisions. And look, Lady D, once again, throwing down some gifted MHH memberships.
Thank you so much, Deanna.
20
That's
people.
awesome.
And this can only go to people who are in the chat, which is interesting. I'm still, we're still learning about how some of this stuff works. And so anyway, Lady D, thank you so much. I mean, that'll probably boost us officially over 100 subs in the 2 weeks so far that we've had it rolling. So thank you so much, Lady D. We love you. And yes, October can't get here quick enough. The meet and greet this year is going to be off the chain because it's going to be a fun season, as you said. We have real quick here. I want to grab this, Zach, from String Guy, an awesome member. Roger says, Chad and Zach, did you see the block that Pat Bryant laid to spring Ingram on the 59-yard play? No block, no rock. No. Now, here's the thing, Zach. I didn't see the Bryant block, but I saw Troy Franklin kind of get in the way of the guy right as Ingram was trying to kind of turn the corner. So I don't know if you're confusing it with that, or maybe, Zach, I just missed the Pat Bryant block. But your thoughts?
Well, now you have me second guessing myself. I thought Pat Bryant was blocking for Ingram, but regardless, he did have a stone wall of a block along the perimeter in that game, String Guy. And that's exactly what you quoted there is what Bryant said when he was drafted. You're starting to see why he wasn't a reach. You're starting to see why the Broncos drafted him in the 3rd round. And this is someone, along with Troy Franklin, Chad, I tweeted this, and a lot of fans have resonated behind this. They are the future of the Broncos receiving corps. No offense to Marvin Mims or Vele, anybody else.
So I just looked it up. He's not wrong. So Troy Franklin's was just kind of a little kind of like it was. If it was a really nitpicky officiating crew, like it's the kind of thing where maybe a block in the back or something, it gets called back. Franklin, because he kind of didn't quite have the angle. Thankfully, but it was enough to kind of get in the guy's way, and Ingram blows by. Meanwhile, Bryant's running from across the field, dude, and lays out just gets inside the guy and just pushes him off the field, dude, and Ingram keeps going. So thank you for observing that, dude. Like, I've been so focused on the content and the stories today that I missed that. Yeah, no block, Zach, no rock.
He's the future of the Broncos receiving core. I wasn't crazy about the Pat Bryant pick, admittedly, but I'm very happy Sean Payton made it now.
Ronk, brother. He's a Facebook supporter. He's a Super Chat superstar, Mount Rushmore. And now he's a member. Great to see you. He says, good evening, Chad and Zach on the Mile High Huddle podcast. Go Bo Broncos. Zach, the Broncos today had a couple of roster moves. They are placing Nick Gargiulo on injured reserve. And then you had the story of who they brought in to replace him on the roster.
Yeah, an old Sean Payton friend, Adam Prentice, the veteran fullback, who actually signed with the Broncos as an undrafted free agent in 2021. He was cut and then landed with Sean Payton in New Orleans. He spent 4 seasons there. He has like 67 scrimmage yards in his career. So he's primarily a blocker, special teams guy, and he's just like roster insurance right now, Chad, with Nate Atkins and Michael Burton both nursing injuries. Sucks for Gargiulo, though. What a nasty injury that was.
Dude, what is the Burton injury? Because Thursday and Friday I was a little bit out of pocket. So what is he dealing with?
I think Sean Payton was kind of vague about it. He just said he has some like tightness or something with his lower body. It didn't seem overly major.
Okay. Yeah, it's I mean, he's not cruising for the roster initially anyway.
Right.
At least in all likelihood, because they're going to want to carry 4 running backs, and with how deep they are in so many other spots, man, it's going to be one of those wave him at the end, sign him to the practice squad, and elevate him as many times as you can, then re-sign him probably. But yeah, welcome back then, I guess, right? Adam Prentice, welcome back to the Mile High City. That's cool. Well, I mean, we'll see. It's probably going to be a short stay for him as well, but you got to have someone. There's still, the accent. What would they call the fan portion of training camp ended last week, but to them, training camp lasts until the final preseason game is over. Then it's the regular season. So when you hear people say, "Oh, I made the roster out of camp," technically that's what they're talking about. So he's got a week or so to shine and show what he can do. Riptide, brother. Great to see you. Thank you for the super chat. Beard's looking sharp. Beard's looking sharp, dude. Luscious, I would even hazard to say. Jackson trying to force his way onto the roster for sure. It might have been you, Riptide, that had the Jackson question last night. Got that conversation going. But yeah, he's looking good, man. Like almost every time, Zach, he's able to return a punt, man, he something happens. And then that speed, like even last night, there was a little dump off to him on the left side and right around the corner. It's like he's got some juice, man. An interesting guy.
If there was any other year, Riptide, Courtney Jackson would have probably made the 53. It's just that they are so loaded right now at wide receiver. And like Chad was talking about, you can't keep 7 or 8. You're going to have to make some tough calls. I hope they sneak Jackson on the practice squad, but I don't know how feasible that is or how long he'll last there.
Papa Bear saying Burton thing is a hamstring. Thank you for that, David. We do appreciate you. Taylor in the house, superstar and a member, saying I like Turner and Jackson on the offense and defense. Yeah, Turner is he was absolutely impressive yesterday. Co-led the team in tackles, and then of course he had that 1.5 sacks. I'll just read to you. He was the highest graded Bronco in Eric Trickle's grading system, and on any side of the ball, he was the highest graded last night. And this is what Trickle wrote, quote, Turner was on fire against the Cardinals, making plays left and right for the Broncos. He'll need to clean up his play in coverage and as a tackler, but as a downhill player, a run defender, and a blitzer, he has flashed throughout the preseason. So a guy to keep in mind there, because Lavelle Bailey was who he co-led the team, Zach, in tackles. They both had 5, but he hasn't had those splash plays so far. Bailey.
Turner, I had to familiarize myself with who he exactly was, Chad. The Broncos picked him up following rookie minicamp this past offseason, and he made some splash plays yesterday, so good for him. Right now, I still think, like you were talking about, Lavelle Bailey is ILB3 and waiting.
Taylor, dude, so good to see you. Thank you for that. And yeah, Jackson's got some serious momentum, dude. So we'll see how that shakes out. And meanwhile, even like, again, Joaquin Davis has been really impressive in training camp and in practice. You can see that route running prowess in the games. You can see the size and all that, but he hasn't really made big splash plays up to this point. So if you would have asked me before the game started, Zach, in fact, people did ask us, I would have said, yeah, it's looking like, if you're going to keep an eye on one of the undrafted receivers, it's Davis. But now my tune has changed completely on that. It's Jackson. Brendacho in the house. What's up, dude? Thank you for the super chat. Great to see you. Says, gentlemen, good to see y'all. Man, what an off season it's been. We are really seeing the future of the franchise show off their skills, development, and I couldn't be more eager to get this season started. Go Broncos. Yeah, it's been again, guys, like thankfully we've had Zach some preseason ball the last little bit in training camp for, 3 weeks, whatever it's been. But that was easily, since I've been doing this, the longest off season I've had, that the way it felt anyway. And dude, I was doing this during the Peyton Manning days. So like, that's saying something. I don't know. I think there was a few different factors that went into why it felt so long, but thank God football's back, Zach.
It still seems like it's the offseason until we get to week 1 against Tennessee. That's when the offseason ends. But we have the light at the end of the tunnel, Brendacho, and thank you so much for your generous contribution tonight.
George Fox, really good to see you, buddy. Says, what's your opinion of our backup quarterback? He's been playing good football. Broncos for life, MHH for life, hit the thumbs up. Yeah, dude, I got to tell you that Stidham's looking real good in his third year in the Sean Payton system. And I'm just going to pull it up. I don't have it memorized here, but his stat line from last night, starting the game because Bo Nix, of course, was rested, but Stidham went 16 of 23 in the first half, right? These are first half numbers, 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I think last week he only had 1 incompletion, but I think his rating was 140 something. Last night, Zach, 132 and a half. Plus, you got to see once again a little bit of that wiggle, not in terms of rushing in this particular game, but he had that one very good, awesome scramble where he's kind of buying time and then and hit Pat Bryant to move the chains. So got to be impressed with Stidham, and it gives you some comfort in the event, knock on wood, anything were to befall Bo by way of the injury bug.
So let's recap. Sean Payton won 8 games with Russell Wilson. He took a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix to the playoffs. He even rehabbed Zach Wilson, and now he's doing wonders with Jarrett Stidham. Imagine calling him a product of Drew Brees. No, the man is a quarterback whisperer, legitimately. Future Hall of Fame head coach, Chad, and I'm so happy he calls the Broncos home.
Oh, yeah, dude. The Peyton effect is palpable, easy to measure. It's there. David Youngkin, what's going on, bro? What did you guys think about Ellis last night? Jonah Ellis,
Stud.
the rush linebacker. Go ahead, Zach.
No, he's a stud. I said it last week. I'll say it again. He's going to be a household name among league circles very soon. And David, if Jonathan Cooper wasn't around or Nick Benito wasn't around, he'd be starting and he'd be dominating. Another player that George Payton scouted, and not a lot of people were high on initially, and they're very high on him now. He's going to be a stud going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's another kind of embarrassment of riches situation. I mean, I won't crown him till he does something to deserve it, but he's looking twitchy and good. Like he's just looking like he's everything that he learned as a rookie. That he's been able to kind of parlay that, and we hear about often, the year 2 jump, and it's looking like that's what Ellis has got in store. But he's still at best, Zach, the third rush linebacker onto the field. And so, we got to keep it within context. But as a second-year guy and a former third-round pick, I got to tell you, already, even before what we've seen this summer from him, last season alone, he outkicked his coverage in terms of what I was expecting him to do as a rookie. Like, believe it or not, for a rookie, his 5 sacks it was one of the top 3 or 4 best rookie seasons in club history. So that was encouraging.
Yeah, then you have Dondre Tillman, who's looked good as well. You have Q Robinson, who I think is going to be a good player in the future. This is arguably, Chad, the best and deepest group of pass rushers in the NFL. No excuse for VJ not to have a top 2, if not top 1 defense this season.
Oh, yeah, it's all lining up. It's lining up nicely. String guy goes, I thought Scott was supposed to be the first arm out of the bullpen when Chad or Zach is off. Well, here's the thing with that, dude. Scott has a lot going on himself, and it's like if he called me, he needed someone to co-host his podcast covering the Falcons. I don't know that I'd feel confident jumping on talking about the Falcons. Like I could fake it, you know what I mean? Like I could spin and I could do like I could make it believable, but it wouldn't be anywhere near as good. So sometimes, like, do you always have time to follow every single development that's happening with the team in order, like we do, in order to feel confident getting in front of a microphone? Sometimes that's part of it. Other times it just doesn't pan out. It's just not in the cards. But Jonah Ellis was number 3 in sacks as a rookie. So in terms of the rookies in the NFL last year, right, finished 3rd, and he was a 3rd-round pick. So good stuff. Yeah. But I know you guys miss Scott. Don't worry. We'll have some opportunities to get him back on the microphone. And every once in a while, he'll do a little Scott, kind of like pod bomb, like a photo bomb, where he'll just pop in and go, hey, guys, whatever. Chad, you got something in your nostril. Oh, Riptide. I don't think we can sneak Jackson on the practice squad, but I bet we could Vele. But better people than me get paid to make those decisions. Well, they didn't play Vele yesterday. So
right.
It's kind of the external view, Zach, and then there's the internal view. The external view is more often than not in alignment internally, Vele is viewed as a starter. So starters don't get cut typically unless it's money oriented, right? Or discipline or something happened to him. But like Vele traded, I mean, like a Tim Patrick situation, I just don't think there's enough value there. At least Tim Patrick had a couple of NFL seasons. He had the injury, two, whatever it was, 2 seasons in a row that he missed, right? Now, off the top of my head, he had the one injury. Then just as he's coming back in training camp, he's hurt again. I recall that. Anyway, point being, I don't know. Maybe that's the argument. I'll flip it around. Maybe if they could trade Tim Patrick, or no, did they cut him or trade him, dude?
Cut him.
Yeah, he's gone. He was cut. So my bad on that. But either way, Jackson, the point here being, though, Jackson's got some value in Riptide's estimation, Zach. How much there is there? Like, do you think you could, from what you've seen from him so far, if he's part of the final cuts, do you see the Broncos being able to put him on the practice squad?
Well, Vele is one of those receivers that has more value to his team than he would on most other teams. And I think it's going to come down to run blocking. That's what Sean Payton loves in his receivers. It's part of the reason why he drafted Pat Bryant. Vele was a decent run blocker when he played last season. I don't know how Courtney Jackson stacks up to him in that regard. If Vele has the edge there, Riptide, I don't see them trying to get him on the practice squad. He's still fairly high up in Sean Payton's book.
Yeah, Vele's on the roster, guys. He's in terms of the depth chart. Yeah, Marvin Mims is the number 2 wide receiver, but Boundary Sutton, Boundary Vele, Mims, Evan Ingram, and boy, oh boy, was Evan Ingram fun to see last night. That was awesome. Deanna jumping in again, top rope.
Thank you, Deanna.
Legendary.
Thank you.
We love you. She says, Ellis was impressive running around making plays. Our depth is amazing. It's going to be hard to pick the 53, a great problem to have. Trent Sherfield looking good too. Hit the like button, everybody. Share MHH for life. Love that. Thank you, Lady D. Sherfield, Zach was, he didn't have the big splash plays last night, but I'll tell you how he finished for what it's worth. Let me see. 3 targets. He was only able to haul in one of them for 5 yards. So, and then that doesn't count his third phase contributions, which isn't nothing.
Thank you so much, Deanna, for your generosity, blessing us as you always want to do. I want to give a quick shout out to Kerry Colbert, the Broncos wide receivers coach. Maybe he didn't all pan out at once last season with Troy Franklin and Vele, but Sherfield stepping up. Franklin's been the player of training camp, the star of the summer. Marvin Mims has looked good. I got to give a shout to the Broncos positional coach for that.
No doubt, dude. He's doing Yauman's work. The Ronk throwing out some memberships as well. That's really cool.
Thank you, Ronk.
Dude. Thank you, pal. That is so cool. Some lucky people in the chat this evening. It's awesome. Lady D and Mike doing that, dude. Thank you, pal. Brendacho again. How do we feel about the running back room? Do we go with 3 in Dobbins, Harvey, then either Bidet or McLaughlin, 4 running backs, and what becomes of Estime? Yeah, Estime. He's looking like the last dude when the music stops. He's the guy without a chair, and I don't think they're gonna risk waiving Bidet. Even though I think if they didn't like him, they could waive him. He'd probably pass through waivers and they could re-sign him. But I think Sean Payton has a plan for Bidet. Not only is he showing out still as a ball carrier, but he's praised him as a pass blocker. He's praised Bidet as a receiver out of the backfield, and McLaughlin. He's the pretty well-entrenched third guy. So, yeah, Dobbins, Harvey, McLaughlin, Bidet, and I think Watson's done enough to once again earn a spot as kind of like that deep in the bullpen running back on the practice squad in the event that there are injuries. You could elevate him a couple times and see what happens. But Estime, Zach, unfortunately, I don't even think when they do finally make the final cuts and he's on the cutting room floor, I don't even think he's a guy that maybe gets brought back to the practice squad. But I could be wrong on that point. But that's where he's cruising.
I'm right there with you. What do we say about him, Chad, coming out of preseason week 1? He averaged less than 3 yards a carry, and he needed to really step up in preseason week 2. He averaged 2.2 yards per carry, 9 rushes for 20 yards. That is not very good at all, Chad, when you have other running backs averaging 6 yards a carry in RJ Harvey's case. Estime has shown nothing, even less than what Javonte Williams showed last season. He's not as good as a pass blocker. cut him, move on. You have your 4. You don't need him. And it just didn't work out, unfortunately.
Nate Dizzle in the house. What's up, dude? Great to see you, man. Thank you for the super chat. Love the show, guys. Thanks for the great content. Thank you for the support, big dog. I'm from Texas, been a Bronco fan for 37 years. Going to my first home game on opening day. That'll be fun, dude. Broncos Titans. Good or bad, I'll always love this team. Hashtag gotta let it breathe. See, there you go. Like every once in a while you get that troll or that sour puss. It's like, oh, I hate it when you say that. But then there's the people that like it or they don't like it if I don't say it. So it's like, what do you it's just what we do. It's just part of what we do, whatever. But Nate, that's really cool. Congrats on being able to get to that game, and we're right there with you, buddy, good or bad.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nate, for popping in. Hopefully you if you have any comments, questions about the Broncos, please let us know. We'll be able to answer them. And good luck on your first game. Week 1, the Broncos are going to blow out the Titans. It's going to be fun.
Tucson Phil in the house. Great to see you again. Saw you in Broncos Book Club earlier. Here you are on the live podcast. So good evening, Chad, Zach, and Deacon Scott. Sad to lose a lineman, but hopefully everyone else steps up. Plus, we may still pick someone up after the 53. Hashtag Buckham or cut. Yes, that's the thing. It's 2 points here. Nick Gargiulo, which by the way, that is the pronunciation of his name, Gargiulo. It's such a bummer and so tragic because number one, he was proving to be, at least up to this point in the summer, the best interior depth guy the Broncos were seeing out there. So that's a bummer. You lose that depth and that safety net. And then for his sake, just when he's starting to kind of prove his worth to the team. I mean, last year he didn't even make the roster as a 7th round rookie, but stayed on the practice squad all year. So my heart goes out to him. I'm really bummed for him. But now it creates a whole new set of problems for the Broncos because they were looking at him, at least early on. You got to assume, hey, he's probably our swing guard. Alex Forsyth is the backup center. Now, who are you going to turn to? Calvin Throckmorton. He hasn't looked so hot, although he garnered a decent grade last night. Will Sherman was basically a turnstile. Clay Webb was basically a turnstile. He was very bad last night. And, Xavier Truss. So really, Zach, I think right now it's like comes down to Xavier Truss, Throckmorton, neither of whom have been like, whoa. Gargiulo was kind of in that whoa department, like trending that way. So maybe that is one of those situations, Zach, kind of like the Evan Mathis thing back during Super Bowl 50 year where they wait to see the final roster cuts and then, boom, throw a few bucks at someone that is a little bit more proven.
We talk about how deep this roster is and how good they look on paper, but they are a little thin on the backup interior offensive line. Gargiulo he was one of the standout players of the Niners game, in my opinion, in the second half anyway. So it sucks for him. It's unfortunate, and you might be right. They might go after a veteran lineman on the open market.
No doubt, no doubt. We'll see how it shakes out. Their back is a little bit against the wall, but the good news though, and I mean, at least we're talking about depth, right? Like the Broncos are returning all 5 starting offensive linemen in what was one of the best units in the league the last couple of years. So that's the silver lining here is it sucks to lose Gargiulo. You feel for him, but the whole starting 5 is returning. You just got to get some of the depth stuff figured out. Like I think Matt Pert gives the Broncos a reliable first to the plate kind of swing tackle, even though they'll probably keep him on the left side. Palczewski, right? He's been okay. He had some penalties yesterday. He hasn't looked as good as I would have hoped, but those guys still doing very well. Tackle, I'm not worried about. It's the interior stuff. And Alex Forsyth, he's got now, Zach, kind of this bad rap because of what happened in the Chiefs game on a block kick. But as a center, when his number's been called to relieve Wattenberg, he's looked pretty good. I don't worry about him as a center. I think he's a pretty good option as a backup.
Yeah, it just sucks because Gargiulo could have been one of those homegrown players they drafted, they developed, and could be a future starter. And he was looking good in the first week of preseason. So maybe you're right. Maybe Forsyth or someone else steps up, or maybe the comment was right and they'll go after a veteran insurance policy in a few weeks.
Mike says, I expect, and thank you as always, Mike, for being a member, brother. You expect to see Bo Nix next week? I don't. Unless I missed something in Sean Payton's press conference last night. I think he's done
He
till
said
week
something
1.
on Thursday, I think,
What did he say?
about they're going to play about 8 to 10 snaps in the third preseason game.
Okay, well, he also said that the starters were going to play in this game too, and then decided against it. But it is a weird situation to kind of understand it from Sean Payton's perspective. He's done joint practices in the past, but only one per summer. This year he did 2, and they're pretty spirited. They went quite a bit longer each session than maybe a lot of people expected him to. And so he's like, hey, why do I need to throw my starters out there? I don't think you need to. You don't. Why do you got to put Bo Nix out there? If think about it from a mindset perspective, Zach, if you weren't going to play him for the reasons you weren't going to play him in this game, why are you going to suddenly play him in what is now like the preseason game 4 of all of yesteryear? I'll be honest. I know I'll trust. He said that. I'll be surprised if Bo plays. I don't know. I don't want to see him play. Honestly, I want to see him in week 1.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. It might be also the reason why Evan Ingram played, 1 snap or whatever it was yesterday, Chad, just to get him some on the field action and get the offense, the first team offense rolling together. I don't know. It's usually a weird circumstance because, like you said, they had 2 joint practices in this third preseason game. There's no joint practice. That's what John Payton claimed, though. 8 to 10 plays for the starters in preseason week 3. We'll see if it changes
We'll
this week.
see. We'll see. We'll see. We shall see. I'm just kind of taking a cruise through the chat here. Yeah, dude, no worries. Later, Ian. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming into to sound off and for your support, my brother. Big Earn, Broncos country only, dude. That's right. Amen to that. I'm just seeing, do the Giants have strength? Todd Ostendorf wants to know. Yeah. I mean, they are an NFL team. Broncos country is my second family for life. That's cool, dude. Well, we consider you family in this building, my brother. MHH. Camden, what's going on, bud? Thank you for the super chat. Says, hi, Broncos country. With the rising stock of both Pat Bryant and Franklin, does that lower the stock of Vela, even though he didn't play yesterday? Let's go Broncos. I don't think so. I mean, we have kind of a tendency, we all do, man, like to make too much of the preseason. On one hand, it's like Sean Payton said of Franklin after the game last night. That's why the preseason is important, is it allows young guys who are growing and trying to compete and take the next steps to display to be able to have the opportunity to translate it, Zach, from the practice field to a game setting, and how important that is. But like, we can't, if you read into what's happened, Zach, Vele's standing is significantly more secure just by virtue of the fact that he's first team and they didn't play him, even though he's also, Zach, a second-year guy. Now, there could have been more to that because he has had that, the ankle that was bugging him toward the end of mandatory minicamp and all that stuff that caused him to miss mandatory minicamp. But I don't think so. What's your answer for Camden?
I don't know that Franklin is relevant here, Camden, because they're 2 different types of receivers. Bryant and Vele are more of the same receiver, even though Bryant, to me, has way more athleticism and natural ball catching talent. But like Chad said earlier, there's a reason why he didn't play yesterday. John Payton continues to stand by Devon Vele. They could have moved on earlier, Chad, when he missed the entirety of OTAs with the phantom injury or whatever he had going on. They said he'll be back, and we're giving him a spot to carve out his own reps. And unless that changes, Camden, Vele is making the 53, and they're going to have some tough calls to make on Sundays as to who to promote, who to dress, and who to deactivate. I don't envy Sean Payton at all.
All those guys are making the roster, though, including Sherfield. So it's like, I feel bad for guys like Jackson and Davis who have had positive summers, but there just isn't enough room at the end unless you're going to move on from one of those guys. And I don't think the Broncos are in that headspace. Cody Cooper, a member, jumping in, even though last night was irrelevant. Makes me happy we saw a game that shined upon how well our coaching units perform and how deep our depth is, I think is so kind of cool thing about last night is that quarterbacks coach / newly minted pass game coordinator Davis Webzak called the game. So he was the play caller on offense for the Broncos last night, which came on the heels of actual offensive coordinator Joe Lombardi being the play caller in the first preseason game. And I thought he did a great job. Like, to be honest with you, I thought even though there was plenty of scoring in game one and frankly more points scored in game one, I felt like the actual design and I mean, even that Evan Ingram play, Zach, is one example. I liked it more in game two than I did in game one. And maybe that has something to do with kind of the starters struggled to the degree that they did. But I thought Davis Webb knocked it out of the park yesterday.
Agreed. Yeah, it was a nice mix of run and pass. He was pretty creative in his play calls, kept the defense off balance, and the Broncos got into the end zone. Sean Payton said he did a really good job. I think it's a matter of when and not if he's a future OC, at least, Chad, if not head coach. If Sean Payton was smart, he'd be thinking about maybe moving on from Joe Lombardi and promoting Davis Webb to OC.
He probably is going to have to if he wants to keep him in the building. Like, I mean, he was getting – I don't think it was actual interviews, Zach, for head coaching opportunities, but like he was being floated. And meanwhile, as a quarterback's coach, he was getting attention for coordinator positions. The reason why he was promoted to pass game coordinator was to help keep him here. To be like, no, hey, dude, if you don't accept that offer or whatever, I'll make you the pass game coordinator, you know. So you'll be quarterback's coach and pass game coordinator. And if Bo Nix goes on, Zach, and has another season that like he did last year, or at least a better way to say that is builds on what he did last year, with the league being enamored with young offensive minds dating back to John Gruden, dude, and even Mike Shanahan, to be frank, way back, it's going to be hard to keep Davis Webb if that's the way. If this thing trends the way we all kind of expect it's going to be hard to keep him.
Yeah, there were two coaches on Sean Payton's staff they protected this offseason, Davis Webb and Jim Leonard. Both are future coordinators at the minimum, going forward. They're waiting in the wings. So what they said about the coaching staff, the comment we just got, it's so true. It's not just a deep roster with the players. The coaching is top-notch.
Camden gifted 5 Mile High Huddle memberships to the chat, dude.
Thank you, Camden.
30 gifted memberships to the chat. You guys are amazing. Camden, you're a baller. Thank you so much, big dog. Really means a lot. Thank you, dude. So guys, check your notifications. You might have been one of the lucky 5 in Camden's case. Phil wants to know, Zach, are we keeping 3 quarterbacks?
That's the debate right now, according to Sean Payton. How many running backs to keep and how many quarterbacks to keep? I don't know that they need 3 if Jarrett Stidham is playing that well. And God forbid Bo Nix goes down, the season's probably shot anyway. I think you can move on from Ellinger, even though he's looked good too, Phil. Stidham is just a world beater as a backup quarterback right now.
I just don't think it's too deep of a roster, and there's just enough stability at the top 2 spots on quarterback. You don't need third guy. Now, last year was unique. They kept 3, I think, because they kind of hoped to be able to deal Zach Wilson. They kind of hoped his summer was – they expected, I think, for him to have a much more prolific summer than he did in the preseason. He had one game where you're kind of like, okay, yeah, the Sean Payton effect's starting to like shine on him, but it wasn't like, whoa, by any means. So when the trade deadline came around, their plan and the reason they kept him on the roster, yeah, they were saying at the time, we just really like the room. We love that room. Well, of course you're going to say that, but the whole point was they wanted to deal him. They wanted to turn that trade around, so to speak. But I don't see that incentive in Ellinger. I don't think he's done enough. Like, he's looked good. Don't get me wrong. Last night he looked good. I like how mobile he is, but I just don't see. And also, Zach, this is a different roster than last year. It's deeper. They have tougher decisions. Like, I mean, we've been agonizing just tonight alone on what are they going to do at wide receiver, but they have decisions to make at cornerback. They have decisions to make, I mean, obviously across the roster, but in terms of like these really deep units, running back, like offensive line with the injury, now you got to kind of figure out numbers there. I don't see them going, you know what, let's carry a completely useless third guy on the roster at quarterback. And that's no offense to him. I just don't see the need. Bo Nix, he'll be the man. And if something happens to him, you got Stiddy.
That's what I think was the failsafe that Sean Payton used last season. Let's have 2 experienced quarterbacks on the roster just in case the rookie, who was a second-round prospect rated, doesn't roll out of the gates looking super good. You don't have to worry about that. You don't need training wheels for Bo Nix this season. Roll with 2 and use the extra spot somewhere else.
String Guy wants to know, Zach, if you have given any credence to the rumors of interest in a Stidham trade. So maybe the 4D chess move here is not to try and parlay Ellinger into a trade, but rather Stidham.
I don't think so. I don't know what you get for a backup quarterback. I don't know where he'd start around the NFL, even in the worst situations like Cleveland. He's probably better off being in Sean Payton's system. I don't know, Chad, that he would look nearly as good with any other coach or most other coaches in the NFL. So, String Guy, just as a matter of importance to the Broncos season, because Stidham's looking so good, I don't know that I would pick up the phone necessarily.
Outside of, what was it, one game with the Raiders, he's been a fair to middling NFL quarterback. And there's something to be said, as Zach is getting at, for the Sean Payton effect. But, Zach, there's a lot of guys out there that have rubbed shoulders with Sean Payton, have worked for him, or have a similar coaching tree or have a similar philosophy that could look to him and go, in our similar situation or scheme, it'd be like hitting the ground running for Jarrett Stidham. I don't think it's real, though. I think Stidham is the plan. I mean, they just gave him a new contract. Like,
right.
Stidham's the man as far as the QB2.
Yeah, and plus Sean Payton wants to win above all else. And again, God forbid if something happened to Bo Nix, who's going to give you the better chance to win, Stidham or Sam Ellinger? It's an easy call.
No doubt. Okay, guys, we're at 41 minutes and we started late, unfortunately, so we got to get out of here pretty soon. Any burning questions, topics, supers, get them in the chat. We'll get to it before we go. Leroy, good evening, Priest. The Broncos' depth looks very solid. I love me some Courtney Jackson, especially with his speed. Plus, I love that jet sweep play that Davis Webb called. And Pat Bryant is the real deal. Pat Bryant is the real deal. And I'm happy to see that, man. Pat Bryant is looking legit. I'm really curious just to see out of the box, though, Zach, how much playtime he's going to get once we get to the regular season, because when it's the twos starting the game, yeah, you're going to see him for a couple of quarters. But when Cortland Sutton's got to be fed, and Marvin Mims and Devon Vele and now Troy Franklin balling out, like, how much are we going to see him? But he's got a very bright future. Very bright.
He's just too good now, Chet. He's advanced enough to the point where I don't think you can deactivate him on Sundays. I think you have to dress him and you have to find a way to get him some snaps. The ball gravitates toward him. He's looked as advertised based on his scouting report. He is the future of the Broncos receiving corps, or part of it at the minimum.
No doubt about it. I did feel super bad for Priestcorn's fumble on the goal line. He was battling to get the touchdown, had a momentary lapse, and they punched it out. And just, I don't know what it was, the way he hung his head walking off the field. I felt for him because, he's a guy fighting to crack into the NFL and keep his playing career alive. But, Nate Adkins, Zach, with that injury, Caleb Lohner looking really bad in terms of his blocking technique and, some of the penalties and different things. Like, it was good to see him get a catch, but Priestcorn looked significantly more like a tight end in these two games than Lohner did. And that doesn't mean that Lohner doesn't still have a potential future, Zach. It just means that I'd be shocked if he's anything more than a final roster cut, Caleb Lohner, and a practice squad guy. And if they keep him on the roster, it's strictly because, like, Sean Payton loves this dude and just really believes there's a future there. Who's gonna swoop in and try and take Caleb Lohner? No one was going to draft him in the first place except the Broncos. And then, like, what has he done this summer to change that perception of him? So, like, but Priestcorn, meanwhile, caught a touchdown in the first game, was basically a touchdown yesterday until he fumbles on the goal line. It's a touchback. If you read, I'll tell you, this is what for posterity, this is what Trickle wrote about him, because he received a very high grade, or a modestly high grade, for his efforts. Quote, Priestcorn doesn't play fast, nor is he fast, but he is tough and physical, and it showed often, as did his versatility If not for a goal line fumble as he fought for a touchdown, he would have ended up with the highest grade for the offense, close quote, Zach. So Priestcorn's a sleeper to make the 53. Because also, by the way, one of the worst graded, Lucas Krull, quote from Trickle, there isn't anything to say about Krull that hasn't been said before. He's a terrible blocker, and he hasn't shown any improvement there in the preseason. As a receiver, he can be very passive. And then here's what was said about Lohner, who had actually even a lower grade than Krull for last night. Quote, if you ever doubted Lohner as a project, this game may have intensified it. Multiple penalties on Lohner, which don't get factored into the grades, highlight how little experience he actually has playing football. His lack of experience plays a role in his grade, which is evident in the non-existent technique, close quote. So I don't know, Zach, how are you feeling about these depth tight ends?
I agree with your summation about pre-score, and it sucks. You have to do everything you can to fight for a spot on the 53, and that might be the reason why he's on the unemployment line in a few weeks. That's football, game of inches. Caleb Lohner, I agree with the comment we got in the side chat here. It says Caleb Lohner looks like a basketball player playing football. It's true. It's because he was a basketball player. Everyone kind of expected him to come in, and because every catch went for a touchdown in college, that he'd make the 53. He'd be the next Jimmy Graham right out of the gates. No, he is extremely raw to the point where he's looking more like irreparable, more so than a future star. He has a lot of work left to be done. He'll be on the practice squad to get that work done, but they need more viable, legitimate inline tight ends that can contribute right now in both phases of the game, blocking and receiving. If Presecorn's that guy, even over Lucas Krull, so be it.
Yeah, my expectations, I'm still optimistic because I'm an optimistic guy, but my expectations for Caleb Lohner have been significantly diminished in these two preseason games. And it's just really put into focus, again, how inexperienced he was. Because, like, yeah, there's the Jimmy Graham comparison. Whoa, D-Dub. But at least Jimmy Graham played, like, a good chunk of one full season of college football.
Thank
Dale,
you,
dude.
Thank
Top
you.
rope, super chat, Mount Rushmore, close buddy, family, this man right here. Much love, brother. Thank you. Says, got to give GM George Payton his chops. His overall game plan and coupling with Payton is looking real nice right about now. Even the courage to release Russell Wilson has to be noted. The depth on the roster, along with the character and coaches, has to have Broncos fans pleased. Hashtag Broncos for life. I think so, dude. And that's an interesting topic right there, Zach, specifically. I mean, he had topically a couple things there, but how the Payton and Payton partnership has gelled like right away. Very, very responsible for how quickly this thing has been turned around.
Absolutely. Dale, thank you so much, my friend. That is amazing contribution, unbelievable generosity, as we've come to expect from you. Seriously, thank you so much, my man. In terms of Payton, George Payton, listen, I've been wrong about a lot with the Broncos the last 10 years, Chad. A lot of my predictions and claims, they've been wrong. The one thing I could say I've been right about, and so have you on this podcast, is George Payton being the right GM for the job. A lot of Broncos fans wanted to push him out when Sean Payton got hired. They wanted to push him out when the Hackett and Russell Wilson, those disasters fell through. I get that. But if you take a look at logically, Dale, like you have, his drafting, the way he worked nice with Sean Payton, his free agent signings, negotiating skills, the Broncos are very fortunate to have George Payton as their GM. And I venture to say that he's a top 5 GM in the entire NFL.
The Russell Wilson trade, even in hindsight, I still have a hard time blaming him for that. We know how it shook out.
Same.
But like the Broncos had been in such desperate straits at quarterback. The dude was a 8-time Pro Bowler as a guy coming off his 10th season. So you're telling me 80% of the time my dude's turning in Pro Bowl. Okay. Yeah, he's getting a little longer in the tooth. What was it? 9 of the 10 seasons, Zach, they made the playoffs. I might have that backwards. It might be 9 Pro Bowls, 8 playoffs, but I think I had it right the first time. But either way, the point being, I don't fault him for it. I just don't think that they had the right plan to maximize it. You team Russell Wilson up with Nathaniel Hackett and tragedy and all forms of skullduggery ensued. But give these guys props for having the stones. It was obviously Sean Payton who was the impetus for we shall go no further with this Russell Wilson thing, right? With down the stretch in 2023. But kudos to George Payton for saying, man, can we live with this record amount of dead money and like still field a credibly plausible competitive team? We'll figure out how to do it. We'll get skinny, we'll get young, and man, necessity is the mother of invention, as they say, and the Broncos had no choice but to do some pretty tough things, and it's turned out really well. But we wouldn't be having these conversations if they hadn't hit on the quarterback. Let's keep that in mind.
Exactly. Yeah, I will never fault Peyton for taking a swing on Russell Wilson. Chad, they could not have predicted the fall off that Russell Wilson would go on to experience in Denver, then Pittsburgh, and soon to be New York, especially at the meet and greet this season. Can't wait.
Dude, I blame Russell Wilson for the Russell Wilson failure. Seriously. I just don't I think Russell Wilson, I don't even want to get into it anymore. That's ancient history as far as I'm concerned. But Dale's point here is Broncos fans got to be pleased. Amen to that. I think they are, man. So love you, Dale. Thank you, buddy. Can't wait. Hopefully you're there for the meet and greet. I don't think we've gotten 100% confirmation yet if Dale's going to be able to make it, but been to everyone that I can recall. So hopefully, bro. All right, Zach. Let's hit a few final messages and then we'll take one last look at the chat before we dip on out of here. It's been a fun chat, but hang tight, guys. We're gonna check it one last time.
Tremendous episode, as always, of the Mile High Huddle podcast. If you're not doing so, please follow us on X at the MHH Pod. You can follow the main account on X at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad at Chad and Jensen, myself at Kelberman NFL, and Scott, our producer, at Scout Kennedy. If you guys want some merch like we're rocking each and every single podcast, check out mhhmerch.com and get you some. If you haven't done so yet, please drop us a like at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on Instagram at mile_high_huddle. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, make sure you're leaving your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some merch each and every single month. But if anything, y'all, please, very important as always that you subscribe, you like, you share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. It really helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
All right, guys. Mile High salute. Special shout out to the great Super Chat superstars and supporters helping us keep the lights on tonight, and our members like the Lady D, throwing down supers, gifting memberships, the Papa Bear. This fella's name is Ian, but we all know him as Proud Zennial. And yeah, that's the profile pic. His license plate says Arizona, by the way. It's hard to see in that small format, but it says Arizona is Broncos country. Pretty cool. Ronk, love you. Riptide, beard is gorgeous, dude. Loving that beard. Luscious is the word for it. Taylor, dude. George Fox. Let's see. Brendacho. David Youngkin. Brenda, I mean, dude, you guys are awesome. Nate Dizzle. Camden, also gifting memberships, and Ronk, also gifting memberships. Phil McLaughlin. And then last but certainly not least, from the top rope came D-Dub. And what a great way to punctuate the podcast. Love it. I think, honestly, guys, I think the main things that we needed to cover tonight. Oh, Phil, dude, thank you, brother. I mean, we're so fortunate to have you. Are you, by the way, Phil, are you reading along on the Elway years? Are you keeping up? We're doing the 4. I mean, are you actually reading the book, or are you just kind of jumping in the chat? Because it's hard to tell sometimes on the membership side of things. But the Elway years is the one we're reading by Mike Kliss right now. It's fun, dude. It's nerdery, but it's fun. Now, Kelberman's Corner returns Tuesday at noon Mountain, 2 p.m. Eastern. So that'll be fun for members only. And then Broncos Book Clubs every Saturday at 4 p.m., with the exception of this weekend because I was traveling. So, Phil, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your support as always, big dog. And Zach and I, just like last week, we'll see you tomorrow night because it's not Monday tonight. Tonight it's Sunday. So we'll see you tomorrow. It's going to be fun.
Have a great rest of your Sunday. We will see you tomorrow night. Take care.
Oh, wait, Zach. Hold on. I'm trying to take care of Phil here. He said he asked another. Oh, here it is. I see it. Let's rapid fire this one. After 2 preseason games under our belt, what positions do you feel we need to get better or deeper at? And if Webb gets picked up, would we get anything for him? No on web, no. But Zach, what positions could use a little love?
Interior offensive line, we talked about that. We need someone to step up with Gargiulo now out for the season. I want to see a little more from the tight end 2 and 3 and 4, Chad. Beyond Evan Ingram, who do we really have that's capable at tight end? It's all a mystery right now. So I think those are the positions, Phil.
I would also throw in inside linebacker just because the veterans are the starters. Yeah, they're veterans, but they have injury cases, and I haven't really been totally stunned and slobber knockered by any of the backups so far. Although I liked what I saw from Jordan Turner last night, but also the tight end depth or lack thereof is a much bigger deal than we've spent that much time on. So anyway, all right, guys. Zach, as you were.
Was this another super from Dale?
Did we miss another one? Oh, hit it, Zach. Hit it. Oh, we did miss it. That would have
Thank you,
been,
Dale. Wow.
dude, that would have been like, could you imagine leaving Dale out hanging out to dry? Like,
Never.
good
Not on this
catch.
pod.
Good catch. Dale, thank you, bro. He says, I'm hoping to make it this year again for the meet and greet, but business is in the flow and I may not. Right. Understood, bro. If not, hopefully we can contribute to the event. Looking to have a great record by the time the meet and greet comes around. Peace. Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Hey, man, just, you know how to get a hold of me, bro. Let me know. And hope business allows for it. I'll just put it that way. But yeah, dude, thank you for the support, Dale. It's great to see you, big dog.
Thank you so much, Dale, for your generosity. Well, thank you again because it's definitely deserved. We hope we can see you out there. We understand things come up, but let us know in the run up to the meet and greet, and we'll make plans. Hopefully. Thank you again.
All right, Zach. Now I guess as you were.
Yes, sir. That was a great Mile Huddle podcast. We're back tomorrow night for another one. Take care and have a great rest of your Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow. As always, go Broncos.